How's it going, everybody? Excited today to talk about another video on personal finance. If you're liking these videos, hit subscribe, hit like, let me know what you like, what you dislike, let me know in the comments below, and maybe we'll cater the next video to something a little more towards your alley. Today we're going to talk about something a little more simple. We're going to take a step back, slow things down a little, relax. We're not going to go into investing or what the financial crisis is looking like or anything like that. We're just going to take a step back on personal finance and really focus on the first most important step in establishing financial freedom and building wealth and really getting yourself on a path towards wellness and financial freedom. The big first step that we all have to take if you really want to acquire wealth and get to a point where you really are financially free is you have to first establish your emergency fund. Now, for those of you who don't know what an emergency fund is, it's really just an amount of cash that you save and you don't touch it except for an emergency. Going to the movies that just came out or buying the latest video game that just released, not exactly an emergency. It's not what we're talking about here. Your emergency fund is really for you to keep and not touch except for when things that are unpredictable happen. If you have car issues, if you suddenly have a big medical bill that shows up, if your furnace goes out, whatever the issue is and you just say, I need to get this fixed right away, that's what you can use your emergency fund for and build it back up. We don't say we never ever touch it, but you don't touch it for frivolous things. Hopefully your life is in a situation where you don't really need to touch this money on a monthly or even a quarterly basis. Hopefully you can go a whole year without touching your emergency fund. That always feels nice, and it feels like a good first accomplishment of saying, hey, I saved up some cash and I didn't touch it for a full year because I knew that if I needed to pay for something, I could find other money than my emergency fund to pay for it. Really is a good step in leveling up and knowing that you are getting towards financial freedom. You're changing your state of mind. You're really feeling about money differently and behaving differently with money. It's a good, solid first step. So how much should your emergency fund be? Realistically, let's start out with like $1,000. Let's make it a goal. If you have nothing right now, start with something a little bit smaller, a little more attainable. If $1,000 sounds insurmountable, start with $100. I don't care. It doesn't really matter when we're first getting started. What matters is the capability to save money and not spend it. So if you're in a situation right now where you spend every penny you get, maybe it's just going to be $100 and you say, hey, I saved $100. You can do whatever you want with it. Maybe you have to do something ridiculous. Maybe you take a $100 bill and literally put it in a bowl, pour water in it, put it in the freezer and freeze it for a month. I don't care. Do whatever you need to do, but just do something to say, hey, I improved. I went a month without spending $100. And you don't have to go and brag to your friends about it because then you're going to tell them how broke you are and you don't want to do that. I get it. But you'll know inside, hey, I can do this. It took a little creativity. I had to do something a little extreme and freaking put cash in the freezer like a weirdo, but I did it. And you can walk away feeling satisfied. Now, once you make that first step and you saved your first $100, your first $1,000, realistically, you want to get your emergency fund to a place where you can go 3 to 6 months without having to work and not skip a beat. Sure, maybe you stop partying because it stresses you out to go and party the weekends or going in a restaurant knowing you lost your income for 3 to 6 months. You might not do that, but you could. And most importantly, you will still be buying groceries. You will still put gas in your tank if you're going to job interviews. You will still be able to pay your rent or your mortgage. That's the type of spending we want to continue to do for 3 to 6 months, even if we were to lose our income today. While it's going to vary from person to person how long it takes you to get that emergency fund, it's going to be a good goal and a good focus for you and a good platform to aim for. Tragically, right now, it's April 2020. Millions of people have recently found out what it's like to suddenly lose your income unexpected. Now, this does happen to thousands of people every single day in America and across the world for thousands of people. But especially right now, a lot of people just got a big wake-up call and say, I just lost my income. And that's tough, man. And some of these people, they do have an emergency fund. And they can say, hey, this is awful and this is rough, but at least I can pay for the roof over my head and put groceries in the kitchen. But not everyone is like that. Of those millions of people, I'm sure at least half, probably much more than half of them, don't have an emergency fund. They don't have the cash. They can't go a month without income, and they immediately need to take out loans or take out debt in order to pay for the basic necessities of life. And that's rough. And you know what? If you find yourself in that situation, don't shame yourself. Don't feel bad. Don't beat yourself up, right? Just commit to something, to changing it. Imagine the average server who just barely got completely blindsided and totally lost their job. And it's not like it was just their company that went under and so they can go get another job. There are no servers right now. No one's serving food. No one's going to restaurants, right? Hundreds of people, thousands of people just lost their job in that one job category alone. And obviously we know that anything in luxuries and travel and group activities, event planning, they all just got slammed and backdoored. And this is a rough situation. But your average person who knows how to work hard and knows how to go and be a server and work till 2 a.m. and your feet hurt and people are rude to you and then you go to sleep and you wake up and you do it again the next day, that person's going to bounce back. If you find yourself in this situation and you just lost your money and you don't have an emergency fund and you just lost your job, don't beat yourself up. Just know you're resilient and you can do this. You can get here. It's not going to be right now. And if anyone's going through a situation where you don't have income, yeah, obviously you're not going to be building up your emergency fund. No duh. But you will eventually. When you get your job back, when you start getting a paycheck again, you can start working on these steps we talked about of building up an emergency fund. For now, you got to focus on the basics, survival. I get it, you're kicking in, but be strong, be safe, and know that we'll get back after this when everything returns. One of the best things about having an emergency fund is the peace of mind that it gives you. Just imagine knowing that if you lose your job, you don't have to go take out an unsecured personal loan from your local credit union just to make your mortgage payment. Or you don't have to opt into the deferred payment programs, which is not debt forgiveness, right? If you saw that you can skip a payment on your car or skip a payment on your mortgage or your rent, that's not necessarily a good thing, right? It's if you need to and you really don't have any cash, you can take advantage of that, and it's going to be different for each person. But they're not just saying, hey, you don't owe us this money. Instead, they're tacking it on at the end of your lease, at the end of your mortgage, at the end of the term of your loan, and they might be even adding some fees to it. And if you don't pay the full amount in the next 2 months, it's going to eat you up in fees. Who knows? It's going to be structured differently for different loan institutions, different financial institutions. But imagine being able to not have to take advantage of any of that, to not have to read all the fine print and stress, hey, am I going to get hit up in the back with fees? Imagine not having to pull out your credit card at 18, 20, 25% interest rate just to buy groceries. Wouldn't that be nice? That's the whole point. It's the peace of mind. It's a different way of living. There's less stress. There's less anxiety. Fewer fights over money with your significant other. It's a complete different way of living, and it's so relaxing. If you don't have an emergency fund, or if your emergency fund is really small and you're struggling to save, or right now you can't build your emergency fund because you did lose your job, but when you get back into the swing of things, just start out with the simplest thing. Start out by saving 1%. Anybody can save 1% because you can easily lose 1% and not think about it, right? If you make $2,000 a month, your take-home pay, so your salary is $36,000 a month or whatever, and your take-home pay is somewhere around $2,000 a month. 1% is $20. If you lost the $20 bill, would you still make all your payments that month, right? Would you still be able to pay all of your bills and not have any late fees or anything? Of course you could. So you could save 1%, and then start with maybe saving 2%. Start using Acorn, whatever, so you don't have to think about it. It's automatic savings. If you don't know what Acorn is, check out the link in my description. You can get a free $5 for opening your account. Acorn's just going to be a way where you round up every transaction you make when you go to McDonald's and you buy a burger, or when you go to Target and you buy some new clothes, whatever you're doing. It's going to just round up your transaction. It's going to put that into a savings account for you, so you don't have to think about it. It's all automated. I know you can start saving or increase the amount you're saving, and that's really going to go a long way in helping you build that emergency fund and have a nice peace of mind and be able to relax and know that the next time you get hit and blindsided and slapped in the face with unfortunate life circumstances, at least you'll be able to pay your bills and not have to take out a loan. Hope you enjoyed the video today. Again, we dialed things back. We've stuck to the basics. This is the first big step in getting to financial peace and financial wealth. Just know you can do it. Let's knock it out. We'll survive this. Let's get your emergency fund built up. See you next time.